it's been 10 days since that deadly and terrible terror attack happened in Pahalgam, and it seems like things are quieting down, but they're not. There's a lot going on the diplomatic stage and among global leaders in global politics. And on this video, I will take you through all of the things that are being said by the big players across the world. Which line are they taking with India or with Pakistan? What are they urging the two countries to do? And what is India currently working on as far as the option of diplomacy is concerned? So I'm going to share my screen and take you through the various things that are going on right now across the globe having to do with India and Pakistan. Something that's just happened, and this is JD Vance, who is, as you know, Vice President of the US. He's made a statement saying that, he wants Pakistan to cooperate to the extent that they are responsible. And this is a really important thing. Remember, Vance was in India when the attack happened, and that is something then that hits fairly close by. And he was actually in an interview with Fox News where he was asked whether he's worried about India and Pakistan. And he said, sure, I'm worried about any time you see a hotspot breaking up. We're obviously been in close contact with our friends in India and in Pakistan. But he's also gone on to say, our hope here is that India responds to this terror attack in a way that doesn't lead to a broader conflict. We hope, frankly, that Pakistan, and this is the important part right here, to the extent that they are responsible, cooperates with India to make sure that terrorists, sometimes operating in their territory, are hunted down and dealt with. Now, this is a really important development because is the US here actually acknowledging that Pakistan is responsible to whatever extent? And secondly, US acknowledging that there are terrorists operating within Pakistani territory and they need to be hunted down and dealt with. And this is a really important thing. It's a big departure. You'll remember from what Trump said about a week or so ago, after the terror attack happened. He basically said, oh, this is a problem that's gone on for the last 1,000 years. He said that number was off by a lot, but he said they will figure out how to deal with it effectively, sort of steering clear of any sort of intervention. But here we'll see JD Vance saying something completely different, which I thought was really interesting. In the meantime, this was on the front page of the Indian Express this morning and many other newspapers, which basically said that Rajnath Singh, in a call to his American counterpart, named Pakistan and talked about India's right to defend itself. This is also really important. So Rajnath Singh was on, our defense minister was on a call with the US Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, and he basically said, the Washington stands in solidarity with India's need to defend itself. Rajnath Singh, and this is that point here, said Pakistan has a history of supporting, training, and funding terrorist organizations. And the fact that, India is very clearly at this point naming Pakistan as the source of the terror that we are currently dealing with in its calls with the rest of the world. This was actually what had happened some time ago when in US had urged India and Pakistan to work together to de-escalate the tensions. This was a statement that came from Secretary of State Mark Rubio, who had held separate phone calls with the Indian Foreign Minister and Pakistan's Prime Minister on Wednesday this week. And he asked them to maintain peace and security in Asia. Now, the foreign minister, our foreign minister, after that phone call, wrote on his Twitter account that perpetrators, backers, and planners of the attack must be brought to justice. And he also talked about how Rubio had expressed his sorrow and reaffirmed Washington's support for India in India's fight against terrorism. The UK also has spoken. There was a debate, in fact, that happened in their parliament. The UK government is urging India to de-escalate the issue and return to dialogue. And I'll just tell you what happened. So, British Foreign Minister Lord Collins had actually, during the debate on this attack at the House of Lords on Wednesday, said the situation between the two nuclear powers, referring to India and Pakistan, is incredibly dangerous. He said it requires all allies to come together together and ensure that we de escalate. We're going to work with all international regional partners to ensure that we create conditions where there can be dialogue, which is not taking place at the moment. So, effectively, they're encouraging the two countries to talk to each other. India saying that we're not going to talk to Pakistan for as long as they continue to harbor, to train, and send terrorists across the border into India. One Tory peer, so sort of like their member of parliament, Lord Ahmed of Wimbledon, a former South Asia minister, said what is needed is direct intervention. UK has a unique role to play. But I must point out here that this is one member of parliament actually saying that there continued to be sort of a face-off between Indian origin and Pakistan origin protesters in front of the diplomatic buildings in the UK, and specifically in London. But these are countries that are acknowledging India's right to defend itself, standing with India against terror. Are there any countries standing with Pakistan? I want to read this out to you. This is actually a sort of readout, like a press release from the head of foreign affairs of China. This is the government website. And this is what it says. It basically says that, because of the tensions due to the attack in Kashmir, Pakistan has always been resolute in combating terrorism and is opposed to taking actions that may escalate the situation. And this is, a readout or a press release from a phone call that happened between the member of the political bureau of, the government, or the foreign minister of China, and Pakistan's deputy prime minister or foreign minister. And it goes on to say Pakistan is committed and China is closely following the development. Fighting terrorism is a common responsibility. But hang on, this is what I want to highlight to you, and this is the important bit. This is what China is saying. As a staunch friend and an all weather strategic partner, China fully understands Pakistan's reasonable security concerns and supports Pakistan in safeguarding its sovereignty and security interests. China supports an impartial investigation as soon as possible. The conflict is not in fundamental interest in India and Pakistan, nor is it conducive for regional peace and stability. So, this is the biggest country, the most important country to come out in support of Pakistan, and which is why this is something that we should take into note. Now, the other country that has come out has always been sort of in support for Pakistan, which is why we have to keep a close eye on it, is Turkey. Turkey's president on Monday, this is earlier this week, called for de-escalation of tensions between India and Pakistan, nearly a week after that attack had happened. And he basically said, we want the escalating tensions between India and Pakistan to be de-escalated. They've apparently also denied any reports of Turkey dispatching aircraft carrying weapons to Pakistan. He said that that has not happened. And he said, we emphasize every opportunity that we do not want new conflicts in the region. But in the past, Turkey has thrown their weight behind Pakistan when it comes to the Kashmir issue. And they have raked up the matter in international forums. India has, of course, always firmly responded. But that is something to note. And remember, India has also brought this up repeatedly, that Pakistan is a bad actor, brought it up before the UN as well. So just taking you through some of the movements that have happened in India. Now, the Prime Minister has chaired 2 meetings of the Cabinet Committee on Security. He did one almost immediately when he landed back in India after that attack had happened. He has since then chaired one more. And in that meeting, he had, as we know, given a free hand to the defense forces. In the discussions of the CS meeting, there is Defense Minister, Home Minister, External Affairs Minister. As you can see, the CDS, Mr. Ajit Doval, who is the NSA, the National Security Advisor. This is the meeting that has happened, and we know from reports that the Prime Minister had given a free hand to the armed forces to respond to Pakistan as they see fit. This is the official sort of comment that we've heard. We've also received releases from the armed forces saying Pakistan has been violating the ceasefire across the line of control over now 7 days or 7 nights, and India has been responding as such, no casualties reported. The other interesting thing that did happen, of course, is that after that meeting, after that briefing where the Prime Minister chaired a high level meeting, he also met with the RSS chief Mohan Bhagwat, who visited the Prime Minister at his residence, and apparently they spoke for an hour and a half. We don't know what that conversation was about, but it happened almost on the heels of the security briefing, and that's just interesting. And so I'm pointing it out to you, not making conjectures to what happened. India has also briefed foreign envoys for the second consecutive day. This is the 25th of April, but I'm just pointing it out to you because these are all unusual sort of movements that are happening in Delhi. And India also dialed and spoke to all of the non permanent members of the UN Security Council on the Pahalgam attack as well. So, this is basically movements that are happening, diplomatic movements that are happening, where India is speaking to, various global sort of stakeholders and friends, briefing people on India's situation, having meetings internally as well. There have been some noises from Pakistan also, but these are the movements that we're talking about. Even in the UN, we know that the Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Guterres, has urged both countries to sort of de-escalate as quickly as possible. So lots of movements happening there as well, and it's interesting to see how this will play out. But effectively, as you can see, while it might seem sort of quiet, there's a lot of work happening behind the scenes, and India is moving quite strategically and not in a sort of knee jerk way. And this is something to note as well. So this is where all of the voices globally and the global politics is now landing as far as India and Pakistan is concerned, and the possible de-escalation of the situation between these two countries, which most of the global players are asking for. But India is very clear about the fact that we have a right to defend our people, our sovereignty, and our borders. Leave me a comment on what you think. What you think of the comments that are coming in from across the world in India's movement on this issue as well.